How y'all doing here? Good. Guess what, Phil? I woke up feeling some kind of way this morning. The kind of way I was feeling is I'm no spiritual giant, but there's a giant in my spirit. I'm an addict recovering from the disease of addiction. My name's Tony. Hey, family, first and foremost, I always like to give thanks to the giver of the gift for the magnitude of the miracle. I want to give all the glory to the ultimate authority. I want to thank God for the program of Narcotics Anonymous, and I want to thank the program of Narcotics Anonymous for tapping me into a power that makes the impossible possible. The program of Narcotics Anonymous taught me how to say no to something I could never say no to. The program of Narcotics Anonymous provided me with an opportunity to ease the pain of living through spiritual principles. And guess what, Phil? Y'all told me that the program of Narcotics Anonymous is a set of spiritual principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is that they work. Now, y'all told me they work if you work them. And y'all also told me they work if you don't work them. It just won't be working for you. My clean date is 7/23/05. I have 5,915 days clean. That's 16 years, 2 months, and 10 days. Relapse is a yet for me because y'all told me, Tony, you're eligible too. I have one clean date. I'm proud of my clean date, but that doesn't exempt me from relapse. Our literature talks about that relapse is never an accident. It's just a sign that you got a reservation in your program. I don't believe in shooting our wounded either. You know, like they say, just like they say we're one bad decision from picking up, I always like to say I'm 12 steps ahead of the disease. So I want to say thank you, Phil, and the Men in Recovery group. Our literature says that the group is the most powerful vehicle. Groups don't recover, but individuals do. Inside the group is where I get to hear our life-saving message. This isn't Tony's message. This is our life-saving message. Was that I like it that y'all talk about the vision statement. I hear the message before we start any meeting. Our message that any addict, half Puerto Rican, half Mexican, short, almost 5'4", good-looking, any addict. Gay addict, straight addict, transgender addict. Check it out. I went to school and I learned some new words. Asexual addict, pansexual addict, non-binary, binary. Any addict can stop using drugs, physical, lose the desire to use, mental, and find a new way to live, spiritual. Our message is hope and the promises of freedom. And like y'all read earlier, is when it's all said and done, our primary purpose can only be to carry the message to the addict who still suffers, because that's all we have to give. And I don't even know, everyone got a topic. I got guest speakers. So I guess, I think Phil even told me, Tony, your topic is a vision of hope. Is that what it says? A vision of hope. So I was coming down here from Texas. So I got clean in Texas. I'm from Texas. You might hear y'all. That means everyone. I was just talking to Duke earlier. I felt like, look, man, I go to men's rap sometimes, but not all the time. And it's wonderful to see a group of men together. The last time, but there was some reason I was sitting in that chair right there, and I felt like it took me back to 7th grade gym. I'm sitting in here with a bunch of men, but thank God we're not sitting there sizing each other up like I did when I was younger, feeling less than and inadequate because your thing was longer than my thing. Then I went to school and I found out that the average is like this anyway, so it doesn't matter. It may grow, it may not. See, school taught me some stuff like having heterosexual sex, male, female, laying down. It says that women, you ready? 90% of women, it says 90% of women do not have an orgasm from penovaginal sex. Check that out. That means if you're having sex, most likely only 10% are having them. Or they're faking it. I don't even know. But I'm sitting over there when I was with a woman thinking that I was less than because I couldn't perform. See, when I was using drugs, I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof. I could do whatever the hell I needed to do at the time. But once the drugs went, I said, the good times are now over. See, I come from a family, long line of addicts. My grandfather died from the disease of addiction. 2 uncles died from the disease of addiction. My cousin can't stop using, and he calls me all the time and he says, Primo, what do I need to do? I can't stop using. And I tell him, man, you know those meetings that you don't want to go to? I said, go to those meetings, man, and raise your hand and tell someone you need help. And he tells me, no, man, I can't do that. Do you know why? So now he's got my attention. Now I start to listen. I said, no, why? And then he starts naming all the family members that have died from the disease of addiction. And he says if it was good enough for them, it was good enough for him. See, when I was using, I remember when my dad was selling dope and I was selling dope when at the end of the road. I was selling dope and I said if it was good enough for my dad to end up in prison, it was good enough for me too. See, my real dad died in prison. Spent the last 10 years of his life locked up from a drug-related crime. I always say you're looking at a miracle. See, the miracle is that I found a way out. And I found the way out through the program of Narcotics Anonymous. Now, here's the hit. When I got here, I said, oh, shit, I ain't like you. Said, I ain't no addict. I never stuck any needles in my, here comes. Don't judge me. I'm just going to tell you my truth. I didn't stuck no needles in my arms. I never smoked crack. I didn't live under any bridges. I still had, look, check it out, Phil. When I got here, I had a 750 credit score. Come on, man. Who the hell stops using drugs with a 750 credit score? I got obsessed in paying my bills. Sometimes the obsession and compulsion is good when you're paying bills. When you're working out and eating healthy, Tony. But you got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. See, I came in here and I had custody of my kids. So I thought I was different. Basic text, 6th edition. If you're still using a 5th edition, this may not be in your book. The 6th edition has a section called the Preface to the 6th edition. It says addiction is a disease that does not discriminate. And neither does the program of NA. Admittedly, there's a stereotype of the typical candidate for NA. Urban, criminal, a needle user. And that narrow vision does describe some of us. But we are also professionals and parents and students and so on. Living in cities, small towns, and rural communities. In countries all over the world. We can only hope to gesture at our diversity in the space of one book. Divorce court brought me to the program of Narcotics Anonymous. Divorce court brought me to the program of Narcotics Anonymous. I sat here, 36 years old. I remember I had custody of my kids already. I remember walking up to the judge, and she said, oh, looky here. An addict and an alcoholic. What a match made in heaven. She was talking about me and my ex-wife. She says, how in the hell can this guy have custody of his kids already? Let's talk about how I slid through some things. I made it through some places for me to be able to think that, to make people think that I was a productive member in society. But guess what? I was spiritually, physically, emotionally, spiritually bankrupt. I was dead inside. This topic's talking about a vision of hope. But someone once told me, before I could see the light, I have to die. See, my story is that I was never in prison. See, I had county time. County time was where I was at. I was never in prison. But I tell you what, I was locked in I was a prisoner of my own mind. See, my friend Jimmy C. always says that each one of us has a lock. And each one of us has a key. But Tony, your key doesn't fit your lock. Someone else's key is going to unlock your lock. We don't know who that someone else is. For me, that someone else is my sponsor. He was the one that could reach me. He was the one that believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. But I also say there's a flip side to that. Because when I'm locked and loaded and I'm locked in a prison of my own mind, I do have the key. I have the key. Our literature says that a spirit of open-mindedness coupled with an admission of powerlessness is a key that will unlock the door to recovery. You see, I had to keep an open mind. Check it out. See, I like to define words. Open-minded means willing to be open to new ideas. So now there's willingness. Now check it out. If the how of the program is honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness is defined as ready, as cheerfully ready, eager, or prepared to do something. Open-mindedness is defined as willing to be open to new ideas. Now I have willingness in both of them. See, as I stay here long enough and I start to learn, see, this is a program for learning. But I can't understand it unless I start to dissect it with some definitions in a dictionary. So I thank God that I got a dictionary and I started using it. See, sometimes my sponsor says that my smart ass wants to dissect it too much and I'm making a complicated thing out of a simple solution. But I still tell them, look, man, I need to define some words. You see, what I learned about willingness is that it means cheerfully ready, eager, or prepared to do something. But when I see the word eager, I know that eager comes from a word enthusiastic. See, Hank, my sponsor tells me, look, man, if you're not excited for your recovery, your disease is excited for your relapse. See, eager is connected to enthusiasm. Enthusiasm comes from a Greek word, which is broken down. It means entheos, which means the God within us. Come on, man. Third step, the God within us. So I like how y'all have this meeting schedule. And I was in bed in the room with Jimmy last night. We weren't in bed together, separate beds. Let me tell you my prayer on the way here. I came from Texas, and I flew to the airport here in Pittsburgh, and it's like an hour away from here. I procrastinated on getting a room in Greensburg, so now we have a room in New Stanton. I waited too damn long. I knew I was coming, but I'll do it tomorrow. I might be by myself. So Jimmy picks me up from the airport, and he's got this truck, this brand new truck. It's a Ford F-150 something, I don't know. He's telling me about the engine. He's telling me that this engine has the same engine that it has in a Mustang 5.0. I'm coming from the airport. I just want to get to the room, get something to eat, and go to bed. But Jimmy wants to show me something. I said, look, man, my drug of choice was speed, but I didn't like to drive fast, man. He says this thing can go 0 to 60 in a matter of whatever. I didn't get the numbers. I just know that we were booking for a minute. At night. Driving fast. Check it out. I don't know what he sees through that windshield, but man, it was like all fogged up. I'm thinking, I can't even see through there. What the hell does he see? He gonna have to listen to this later, right? Check it out. So then, I'm so grateful for his new truck, but he also has these new options in his truck. Hands-free, so he can talk on the phone while we're driving. Then he's got this little thing that goes into the CD player that holds his phone up for the GPS. Y'all know what I'm talking about? We'll try going 75 and him trying to show me how fast he's going. Oh, shit, we don't know where we're going. And the thing falls underneath him. Now I'm looking at it. Trucks going all over the place. There you are, Jimmy. I see you. Trucks going all over the place. It's going like this and that. He's over there. We got to get this. I said, can't we get this later? I'll pull it up on mine. No, I don't want to hear yours. I want to get mine. All I can see is like, oh, thank God. Hope I'm praying. God, just let me get to the room tonight. I took a minute there when I flew in. I didn't send a message immediately to my daughter to let her know that I got home because I still had an hour drive and I wasn't sure if we were going to make it home. And that what hit me before. See, sometimes my mind messes me up. Sometimes I think of some stuff that it's like a miraculous thing happens. That like whatever somehow, how do you know, Hank, when it's God speaking or when it's the disease magically masquerading itself as God? See, how do I know when my thinking comes of what? Because my thinking goes to extremes sometimes. It goes to a place like I'm like, I don't even know if we're going to make it home, but make it to the room. And then I start seeing, but this happened before I got into the truck. I made a decision not to text my daughter until I got to the room, and we're all like this, all over the place. So needless to say, I want to say thank you, Jimmy, for picking me up. We were in the room last night, and of course, we read the whole section of A Vision of Hope. And it had a couple things that I like, a couple of my favorite parts in here. It says it's not recovery that's painful. It's our resistance to it. It's what hurts. See, I used to say stuff like, recovery's a lot like sex. Recovery's a lot like sex. I used to say that if it doesn't feel good, you're not doing it right. Then I had someone says, you know what, I'm on a 4-step right now, and it's not feeling too damn good. Does that mean I'm doing it wrong? Then I get to this part of the journey continues where it says it's not recovery that's painful. It's our resistance to it is what hurts. And in this topic of a vision of hope, I like to look up words. So what did I do? I looked up the word vision. And it means the ability to think about a plan, the future, with imagination or wisdom. It means a mental image of what the future will or could be like. Vision means to see. Then I looked up the word hope. And hope means a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. A person or thing that may help or save someone. A feeling of trust. See, in our literature talks about in the third step that there's a spiritual progression between hope, faith, and trust. See, the meeting that we came earlier, look, I was dreading about being here all day. Let me just get honest. I said, man, I'm going to be here all damn day. And I've enjoyed myself. And it went through, and I got to catch the open discussion meeting this morning when we were talking about keeping the faith. We were talking about, Jimmy was nudging me. You want to share? I was like, shit, I got a whole damn hour, Jimmy. I don't need to share 5 minutes too. But faith. There's a spiritual progression between hope, faith, and trust. See, for me, faith means finding answers in the hope. Faith means finding answers in the heart. It says trust comes to play after faith has been applied. But you see, I got to believe that there's going to be ground beneath my feet or that I'm able to fly. But how am I able to get to the belief? See, y'all told me how to change my belief systems. See, I believed back in the old days that a grown man don't cry. I had belief that, look, check it out, that you do as I say and not as I do. See, I had all these faulty belief systems. Thank God for a second step. A second step is where I'm able to get my moment of clarity. See, I don't know about y'all, but my first thought with 16 years clean still isn't always the best one. A vision of hope. It says learning about acceptance, love, and compassion helps us to accept ourselves without conditions. See, the minute I see that word without conditions, I think of unconditional love. See, the self-acceptance pamphlet talks about that I loved with conditions. If you didn't do what I wanted or demanded, I liked you until you didn't do what I wanted you to do, and then I just cut off the relationship. Sometimes I cut off the relationship before you really got to know who I was. You wouldn't like me. See, my sponsor gave me that self-acceptance, the triangle of self-obsession, and the sponsorship pamphlet before we started doing any work. He told me the quicker, Tony, you get to self-acceptance, the better you're going to be. In that one sentence, there's a lot of stuff. Learning about acceptance, love, and compassion helps us to accept ourselves without conditions. See, this whole thing, Jimmy, when I was talking to Jimmy earlier, it says it's just talking about me being the best me I can be. See, our literature talks about that our true value, our real value is in being ourselves. But I didn't know who I was before I got here. See, I lived in a life where I was already the shit when I got here. It was my way or the highway, and if you didn't like it, you could get out. My sponsor said, oh, look, Tony, looks like you were a legend in your own mind. And I thought I was, man. I thought I was all that and a bag of chips. See, I was the guy that if you didn't drive a certain thing, live in a certain neighborhood, I didn't want anything to do with you. I didn't go down to the hood to score dope. That wasn't my story. But check it out. My first home group was at 2305 McGowan in Houston, Texas, in 3rd Ward. You see, I drove down to a neighborhood in the hood so I could score some recovery. See, my sponsor used to tell me stuff like, Tony, sit in the front row, take the cotton out of your ears, and put them in your mouth. See, I'm so glad I stayed up front. See, because they told me when I got here that the front row was the ICU, and then the second row was the SPV. Uh-oh. Y'all know what the SPV is? The Special Victims Unit. So I was either in the front or the second row. When this thing talks about compassion means to suffer with. See, the 6th step talks about, instead of me placing judgment, see, look, I used to have this friend of mine, Kenny Curtis, he's no longer with us. He says, Tony, he always used to tell me, Tony, if you spot it, you got it. Used to piss me off all the time. If you spot it, you got it. But how come I want to be mad at you for the things that I'm trying to work on of my character defects that I see in you, but I have in me. See, that's why the step work was getting me connected to the spiritual opposite. The step work is where I find the sixth step. The sixth step is where I find that instead of practicing judgment, I can practice compassion. It goes on to say, as our faith deepens, our understanding of what is meant to act in good faith changes as well. We no longer use our disease or where we are in recovery as an alibi for bad behavior. Uh-oh. Well, I'm just an addict. That's just the way I'm going to be. Oh, I haven't lost that defect yet. Sixth step talks about that we can't let our disease make us be irresponsible. We have to face it. See, I have a choice. See, today, the disease of addiction works in my life through cheeseburgers, fries, cupcakes, ding-dongs, apple pies. Let's talk about Jimmy when he picked me up. I told him I'm hungry. While he's driving his fast truck, he's looking back in the back over here. I'm like, what the hell you doing, Jimmy? He pulls out this bag. I thought he had a cheeseburger for me. He goes, it's an apple pie. I ain't telling you that we're both diabetic. Thanks for picking me up, Jimmy. He probably shouldn't be having that apple pie, neither should I. I told him, I said, Jimmy, I got a clean date on apple pie. See, I had to put down the whatchamacallits and the Snickers. You see, I had to put down the ice cream. See, the doc, look, in January 2020, COVID didn't make me fat. I was already fat before COVID happened. I used to pray and say, please, God, please, can I just have one day without going on my bank account, without going to Starbucks 5 times a day, without going out to eat all the time? Can I just go to the grocery store and just get my food and my coffee at the grocery store? Can I just go to the grocery store, come back, and the only thing out of my checking account is going to be bills or food or necessities? That's it. God, please help me. Now, I didn't pray for COVID to come, because COVID's kicking ass and taking names. But check it out. I stopped going to start. Government said, stay your ass at home, Tony. You can't go anywhere but to the grocery store. So I started going to the grocery store, but check it out. I was buying bags of Doritos, Funyuns, chips, queso, ice cream, not just 1 gallon, 2 gallons, 3. Look, I said, I'm just going to have one. I'm buying all the stuff that's bad for me. In March, April, and May the 2nd came, and the miracle happened. The miracle happened. Look, check it out. I get back to the 6th step. The 6th step says, when the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than our fear of change, we will surely let go. See, in January of 2020, I was 283 pounds, almost 5'4". Look, man, I was a big dude. I was pumping out of 3X's. But I didn't think it was a good idea for me to stop eating bad. The doctor said, Tony, your A1C is 6.4. You got high blood pressure. I still didn't think that I didn't need to eat bad. I was eating to use, using to eat. And by the time the 1st of May hit, I had to have been 300 pounds. I was so scared to see what the scale was, I didn't hop on it. But I tell you what, I couldn't wipe my ass. I was having problems wiping my ass, and I said, oh, hell no. I need to do something different. See, I don't have the longest arms. I said, what am I going to need, an extender or something? Shit. Come on, man. See, we're talking about how the disease of addiction manifests itself in a variety of mental obsessions and compulsive actions that have nothing to do with the drugs. See, and it just manifests itself in food. Food must have been my first one without me even knowing. But I tell you this, man, if you're sitting in here and food is not the problem and you're like this big, then what is the problem? Is it sex, Pornhub, swipe right, swipe left? Is it www.pumpthatass.com? Is it shopping? Is it the casino? Can your medallion fit inside the casino slot? Just one more? Is it Netflix? I might be by myself on this one, Jimmy. Episode after episode after episode after episode. Look, I don't even start Netflix things because I look to see how many seasons they got and how many episodes they got because I can't just do one. So I want to let y'all know that when I got clean, I was a bartender. I don't share this a lot, but I will with y'all. I was a bartender when I got clean. Uh-oh. Bartenders can't get clean. I stayed clean working behind the bar for 8 years. Even the divorce court judge says you cannot work behind the bar and stay clean. I told her, come watch me. See, I had motive to stay clean. I have motive to stay clean. See, our literature says we use the head of the welfare of our families, our wives, our husbands, and our children. But my motive was to stay clean, to be a father for my kids. You see, I believe that I was an answered prayer when I came into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. I believe that my mom prayed, Jimmy. I believe my mom prayed, please let my baby make it this time. See, someone's mom saying, please let my baby make it this time. Someone's kid is saying, please let my daddy make it this time. Someone's grandparents saying, please let my baby make it this time. Thank you. Our lives are at stake. See, I wasn't planning on staying here long, but I tricked myself. I took the suggestions. I worked the steps with a sponsor. I worked traditions. I just recently finished concepts. I cycled through the steps a couple times. Look, check it out. I've done them 3 times. The reason why I tell you I've done them 3 times is the first round. The first round for me was about the drugs. The second round was about my character defects. And the third round was about me taking my will back. See, Jimmy and I were talking about control. See, this program teaches me about moderation. It teaches me how to moderate and balance my life. To balance between self, society, service, and God. But then when I'm able to start balancing some stuff in my life, then I think that I can just have one more. Then I think that I can control something. Like my kids. Man, I'm telling you. Do you know how hard it is? Look, check it out. I was asking someone earlier, man, we're in a men's meeting, man. What are we supposed to talk about? Men's stuff or what? I really enjoyed what you had to share. You know, because in my recovery process, being a bartender, look, check it out. Man, I'm telling you, the more they drank, the better I looked, the taller I got. Look, I done things in that bar that I ain't proud of. I done things using that I ain't proud of. See, I used to have small goals. Like I just wanted to get 3 blowjobs in one day. By 3 different girls. See, that's when the disease had me. The disease had me in sexually just doing whatever. See, in recovery, once divorce brought me into the program of Narcotics Anonymous, she started sleeping with everyone and I stopped. One of the best things that I did was give myself a break. Took some time to work the steps to get to know Tony on a deeper level. I started realizing that my body, it just wasn't, look, man, with the last 5 girls I slept with, guess who the common denominator was? Guess who the hoe was? Me. See, my friend Patsy always tells me, Tony, you have such a message of transformation. A message that you never put any female in front of your kids. See, I got custody of my kids when they were 2 and 3, and now they're 20 and 19. They've never seen me use. I live with my daughter now in Texas. My son lives in Houston, and we live 4 hours away. See, I'm present in my kids' life. I went to school. I went to the PTA meetings. I volunteered at school. Y'all told me how to be a part of. See, I used to think that 50% of being a good parent was just showing up. But I have a sponsee right now that tells me, Tony, 70% of success is just showing up. Think about that. Doing what you said you were going to do. See, my kid, but then I had to balance it out because, look, check it out, man. I love conventions. I love recovery. Y'all told me to chase the hope like I chased the dope, and I'd stay clean. I'm hungry, man. Hungry for recovery. I start going to all these conventions all over the place. I tell my kids I'll be back. One time my son said, well, Dad, when are you going to stay home with us? See, I had to go through that process. So I made a decision to say, okay, well, every 3 conventions I go to, maybe we'll go to Disneyland. I started showing up and being there for my kids. But it took a minute for me to get there. See, this last round of steps. You know how hard it is to go to your kids and tell them that you apologize for the wrong you've done? This last 9th step that I went to my son, my teenager son, I told him, I said, son, I want to let you know that I sincerely apologize for any harm I've caused. And I'm just going to try to do better and live guided by spiritual principles just for today. And he said, wow, Dad. He said, I never thought that this conversation was going to happen. He said, can I say something, Dad? I said, uh-oh. 9th step says I got to sit and listen. My son said I started resenting Narcotics Anonymous because I thought Narcotics Anonymous was taking my dad away. You were always going to conventions. You were always flying out places. You were always going here and going there and never taking us. He said it took me a minute to realize that Narcotics Anonymous I thought Narcotics Anonymous was taking my dad away. And then I realized something. Narcotics Anonymous wasn't taking my dad away. Narcotics Anonymous gave me a dad. Man, that's one of the best things I heard from my son. See, he always thought that I would, look, man, living up in this day and age. Look, I would tell my son, take out the trash, but my daughter would never take out the trash, and he'd be like, Dad, what about these gender roles? Gender roles? What the fuck's a gender role? How come I'm always taking out the trash and not my sister? Well, that's what I was always taught. And now she don't know how to throw out the trash. But in reality, today she's learning how to take out the trash, thank God. So I'm gonna take you to where I'm at now. God took me out of the bar. I'm going to share this story, Jimmy. My stepdad was known as $2 Bob. He would always give $2 wherever he was. He'd have stacks of $2 bills in sequence. If it was your birthday, he would look at the last numbers, and he would put them there and line them up for your birthday and send you a card. That's what he would do. He would go to restaurants, and he would give out kids $2 bills. Before he would give it to the kid, he would make the kid go to the parents and say, never take money from strangers. I'm giving you this money, but I want you to get permission from your parents. And he would give him that $2 bill. He died at the age of 70. This is my mother's husband. He's been the only father figure that I know. I was rebellious when I lived in his house. He was the only father figure I knew. He died at the age of 70. So I tell you this story to say God took me out of the bar with 8 years clean when he passed. And when he passed, I showed up. They lived in California. I showed up to California with my mom. I was on the first flight out. Y'all taught me how to suit up and show up. So I went down there when he passed. Was exactly where I needed to be for my mom. And after a few months, I realized that God took me out of the bar and he put me into school. But before I went into school, I was thinking, God, is this the right time? I'm 45 years old. Is right now, Bob just died. Do I need to be here for my mom? Do I need to go to, what do I need to do? And I'm asking him. And I went ahead and took one step forward and I applied to community college at the age of 45. And I get back this school number. And this school number on each end was 2 2s. And in the middle of this number was 733. See, Bob's cell phone number in the middle was 733. See, he died at the age of 70. On the right side of 733 was 70. And on the left side of 733, guess what, Jimmy? Was 05. See, my clean day was 7/23 of 05. And when all those numbers lined up, I saw the evidence. I saw the evidence and I looked up and I said, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. I went to community college. 2 years later, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in social work. Another 2 years later, which is only 1 year later, but it happened in 2 years, I got a master's degree in social work. We're talking about an addict that never showed up to school. We're talking about the addict that went to school while I was going to school with 18-year-old kids and we had a fire drill. I used to say shit like, this is when I used to leave and never come back. So now I'm in Houston with a master's degree. And my mom is 4 hours away. And mom is 77. We're talking about my mom was my best enabler. Right, Jimmy? I'd strong arm mom for $20. She'd get $100 an allowance for a month. And I would strong arm her for $20. My mom lived 4 hours away and I made a decision. During my master's degree, I signed up for a scholarship. And the scholarship I received paid for the whole master's degree. It was $25,000, Phil. And I share that to say this. But they said that if I accept this scholarship, that I would have to stay in Houston for 2 years post-graduation to give back to the community. And I knew I wanted to go back to mom. I didn't want to stay 2 more years in Houston, Hank. I called the school up. Or actually, when I went to school, I went to the office of the ladies with the scholarship. And I told them, man, I'm extremely excited and glad to be a part of this program. I'm extremely grateful for y'all to be giving me this scholarship, but I got to tell you my truth. My truth is that mom is on her last leg. She's 77 years old, and what y'all are teaching me at school is that the average death for women is 80 and the average is 76 for men. I said the last thing I want to do is accept this scholarship and stay here 2 years and my mom die and I'm not being able to go spend 2 years with her, Jimmy. I told them, I said, I respectfully decline who the hell respectfully declines $25,000 of free money? See, y'all taught me humility. Y'all taught me integrity. Y'all taught me to suit up and show up and to be honest. Guess what they said, Jimmy? We're going to give it to you anyway. Let's talk about how great God is. So now I decided to move. And I'm moving. Look, my son, he said, Dad, what do you think about me moving out? I said, son, let me help you pack. Then he built a resentment because I didn't help him pack, but I did help him move. My daughter decided to move. She ain't going too far from Dad. She's Daddy's girl. She stayed with me. My son stayed in Houston, and we're driving. She's driving my brand new car. I'm driving this hoopty-ass U-Haul, the play in the wheel like this. I'm going cross country, and I'm still wondering, Jimmy, if this is the right decision. God, show me something. I'm driving that U-Haul, and I got the music going, and I'm looking. And when I look outside, I see this divine presence. I see the sun going through the clouds. I see, it just looks like something that you see out of a picture. And it's exactly right where I'm driving, like I'm driving right into it. And the literature comes to life. In the 11th step, it says that we see that regardless of material success in our lives, we can be content. We can be content with or without a partner. With or without the approval of others. Right? We come to live life and love and have dignity and find great joy and beauty in our surroundings. I was finding great joy and beauty in my surroundings, and I looked and I said, man, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. You see, but look, I say that to say this. I got here dead, but today I can see. There is light. There is an 11th step in my life. You see, y'all told me that by the time I got to the 11th step that I'm going to invite prayer and meditation already. Those that don't pray, meditation is the only way for this step. But as I'm seeking and as I continue to improve my conscious contact with God. See, but I tell you what, when I got here, I didn't like the word God. God made me repulse. The spiritual awakening in my life is that once I was blind, but now I can see. See, the 7th step talks about our road to spiritual growth. The 7th step talks about that we become the tangible evidence. See, the 2nd step talks about confronted with this evidence. See, there's a process within the process in the 2nd step. Our literature talks about that if we look over this step with a minimum concern, only to find that the rest of the steps won't work until I work step 2. But what is the process within the process, Jimmy? It says we begin by just admitting of the possibility of just maybe there's something. Then it talks about being confronted with evidence. As we talk to other members and listen to what was working for them, I get confronted with evidence. Y'all are my evidence. And as I begin to see the miracles and coincidence happening in my life, acceptance becomes trust. But developing a relationship with the God of our understanding comes over time. It comes through practice. It just doesn't happen. See, I just recently looked up the word practice. And practice means the actual application of doing something. That means doing what you said you were going to do, Tony. Long after the feeling of enthusiasm is gone. You see, hope for me stands for seeing beyond my present circumstance. See, y'all were the one that gave me hope when I didn't have any hope. Nothing ever else worked. All right, I got about 5 minutes left, I think. So the last time I got laid, let me just throw it out there, was March 2020. With a partner. Let me throw that one out there. It was right before the shutdown. Before that, it had been 4 years. Yeah, long ass time. But let's talk about some masturbation. Uh-oh. See, what I learned in school is that even in the womb, babies ejaculate. See, I used to tell my kids, like, look, if you play that, I used to tell my son, if you keep playing with it, it's going to fall off. When he became a teenager, he said, Dad, guess what? It doesn't fall off. See, I wish I would have learned the stuff I learned in school. It's natural. Just because kids are 3, 4, 5 years old, they're touching themselves, doesn't mean that they've been sexually abused. Come on, man. You see, I've learned some stuff now. I've learned some things. That doesn't discount it, but that doesn't automatically mean that it happens. See, I believe in masturbation. But, see, I believe, just like they say, 3 meetings a week, 3 times a week ain't that bad. But if I'm doing it 10 times a day, I might need to take a look at something. See, the disease is about obsession and compulsion. You see, I've made a decision to sacrifice my life to have with someone else so I can be a father to my kids. So I can raise them. So I can get a master's degree. You see, I want to get a PhD or a DSW. I want to be a doctor, man. I want my story to be from the dope house to doctor. But check it out. But the disease wants me to have a PhD too. The disease wants me to be poor, hungry, and dirty. See, just like they always say, look, the disease is gaining all the knowledge that I'm gaining. See, my sponsor tells me, Tony, if you're not working on something, something's working on you. Check it out, Phil. I say that if you're not studying something, something's studying you. See, our basic text is meant, it's not a novel, man. It's a book to be studied and to read over and over and over again. See, now the 12th, look, I can come up here and share all this shit and fucking quote literature and do all this stuff, but it's always about how you living, Tony. How you living. The message is, however, meaningless unless we live it. Says, as we live it, our lives and actions give it more meaning than words or literature ever could. I'm going to shut it down with this last story. So my daughter, we got an apartment, and she wants her dog to come home. And her dog is Kobe. Kobe's a 75-pound black lab. Apparently, Tony is scared of dogs. He was growling and barking like me, like he wanted to eat me up. See, and I finally got to a place, look, I knew I was scared of dogs. I got bit when I was small, when I was 9 or 10. But my daughter wanted Kobe to come home. I ain't ever met Kobe. Kobe stayed at her ex house. We get an apartment and Kobe comes home and he's like, "Rah." And something inside me just goes, whoom. And I stopped paralyzed in my tracks. I told her lock him up so I could go to my room. The first night we moved in, her door was shut, and I locked myself in, and I stayed shut so Kobe could run, and then Kobe stayed locked up so I could run around the room. My daughter said, Daddy, it looks like I'm training 2 dogs right now. Saturday night comes. This is about 4 weeks ago. Saturday night comes. My daughter's at a quinceañera. Kobe's in the room. He's in the crate. He's in her room. The door is shut. But I still can't walk into the apartment. I'm paralyzed in fear. My stomach's in knots, and I haven't felt that way in a long time. See, it's one thing to be scared and have paralyzing fear of dogs when they're at someone else's house. But what happens when the monster comes home in your safe spot where you're supposed to feel safe? I didn't go, man. I drove an hour and I caught me a meeting and I raised my hand and I shared my ass off. Then I went to my sister's house and stayed there. Let's just say Kobe and the fear won. Sunday night comes. And we start the separation and boundaries again. And now I start to open the door a little bit. And I start to see Kobe comes a little bit more down the hallway. We decided to get a dog trainer. A dog trainer came and started giving us some information about what we might be experiencing. Long story short, 3 weeks in, now my daughter opens up my door. Kobe jumps into my bed and he just wants to lick the hell out of me. See, I walked through that fear to get to the other side because y'all told me that true courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the willingness to walk through it. I'm going to close with this. As I was reading this topic, and I was talking to Jimmy earlier. Jimmy was talking about a vision and hope. Tony, wouldn't that be connected to like our only hope is to live by the example of those who have faced our dilemma and have found a way out? And my mind goes like, I want to find out how many our only hopes are in our literature. And then Jimmy comes up with this smart saying, well, you know, Tony, you can't get an A in Narcotics Anonymous. But I did find this. Page 20 in the Journey Continues. Yes, we are a vision of hope. As the basic text says, this book is about seeing that hope as something that always grows, drawing us forward throughout our recovery and throughout our lives. We don't just recover. We thrive. The NA program gives us tools for living. The work is never ending, and the rewards of living the program are ongoing as well. We work to improve our circumstances, creating and recreating a life that matches our vision of ourselves. Often the change we seek is in our ideas and attitudes. We learn to see the world more clearly. We are so grateful for the recovery we can see in ourselves and the people around us. Great rewards are always waiting for us if we are willing to make the effort. Effort is defined as a vigorous or determined attempt. Vigor means energetic, man. It's about having energy and doing not, oh man, I got to open up the home group. No, you get to open up the home group. See, the only thing I have to do is give it away. And check it out. Our basic text also says this. And I believe it. And I quote it. It says, today I believe that a person who is clean and has not worked the steps can possibly be more dangerous than someone using. That means that just because the monkey's off your back doesn't mean the circus has left town. That's all I got. I love you guys. Thanks for letting me share.